I'd love to, I suppose, begin by talking about that move from SDR to SDR leader.
Yeah, sure.
I think from my perspective, and obviously being in the position that I'm in, I'm seeing more and more that SDR managers are becoming a very sought after job within companies, but also where previously it might have just been seen as a stepping stone role, maybe into AE. I think it's becoming more and more important in our world.
Yeah.
And people are after it. So I would love to know, I suppose, firstly, like what motivated you, and then secondly, like any advice that you like might have, having gone through that transition on what you'd say to aspiring SDR managers.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, from my experience, when I joined as a novice SDR, I was always dead set on being an AE, and actually becoming an SDR manager and having that management experience in general has actually been a really happy accident. With the team lead role that I took, I kind of took it in the sense that I thought, I'm 8 months into my first SDR role. To have management experience this early on in my career is going to be really invaluable. So that was my thought process initially. And then I said, I'll do this for a year and I'll, probably end up going to account exec or becoming an IC again, where I can, just do straight billing and it'll just be me and my number. But I actually really started to enjoy the fulfillment and the, I guess, the camaraderie that you get of working with a team and helping everybody get over the line. I'm also quite a social person when it comes to like office working. I really didn't fit the work from home model at all. I actually was getting a bit down in the dumps with having to sit and cold call from my room, and it was the same with being a manager and having to manage people from my house, and there's people all over the country. It just really wasn't conducive to how I like to work and how I like to live my life. I love to be out of the house all the time. So I started to think about long-term ambitions, and if you think about your 5-year plan, most people have management in that plan and being in charge of a team. So I've just run with it. My advice to budding SDR managers, that's a great question. I'd probably say start to try and think like a manager as soon as possible. And the best way of doing that is, I guess, becoming analytical of yourself, having that inward looking nature and I guess the introspective nature to understand where your development areas lie and being able to tweak them. So let's say if you look back at your week and you're not happy with the amount of meetings that you're booking in, you can simply go back and check your activity day on day and see whether you've done the right amount of touch points or the right amount of outbound necessary for you to get those results. And then it's a case of if it hasn't been achieved, tweaking those numbers to ensure the next week your targets are met, because that's what management is, but just on a larger scale. And instead of just one person and managing your input, you're managing 10 people's input, 12 people's input, however big your team is.
Sure. Yeah. So like self-analyzing yourself before you're analyze, to prove that you can analyze other people. Yeah. I think interestingly, one thing that we do here at Cognism is we have an SDR mentor scheme. So we have senior SDRs joined up with junior SDRs or newer SDRs to the business. I think that's a really good way as well of like, practicing almost or showing those leadership skills early. All of that was certainly something that like I suppose behind the wall, you did really well. Is like, we jump on those group calls and kind of you were pointing out in core review, like where people could the technical aspects that people could improve. So yeah, I totally agree. I think that's acting like you're a manager is perfect advice. And if there was to be like, one key characteristic or skill that has kind of given you success, what would you say, like as an SDR manager?
Wow.
A lot of, I know, difficult one, this one, because
that is a difficult one.
What do you think? I'm seeing some of the comments already, and it's some former members of your but I won't get you looking at them yet.
Hey, Ollie.
But what do you think they might say was the kind of standout characteristic that you had?
One thing that I tried really hard to do, and I think had a degree of success, was creating a team spirit within our pod. Often I make a big deal about hitting the team target and really push home the reward of an incentive, whether that's, going out for dinner on the last week of the month. Maybe it's an early release on the last day of the month. Maybe if they hit a certain percentage above their quota, I might do some sort of forfeit that's going to embarrass me in the office. That seems to motivate people quite a lot. We won't delve into that one too much. But yeah, I think creating a kind of team togetherness and a team momentum around that collective target really helps with people egging each other on. And it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, really, where they're motivating each other because they all want that shared experience of going out and having a few drinks or going out for dinner on the last day of the month, because it's such a lovely reward, and it's something that actually in itself just creates a bonding by trying to aim for that experience, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'd say that's probably something that is probably my biggest strength.